You're listening to the Becoming More Me podcast with me, Theresa Lear Levine. You're already enough, but if you're anything like me, you thrive when you're stretching, creating, and aligning with the person you feel called to be, and creating greater calm, clarity, and confidence in your life, as well as room for pleasure and expansion. Through amazing stories, conversations, and offerings, this podcast is here to inspire and support you. Get ready to release the negative, reinforce the positive, and elevate our consciousness and vibe together as we tap into our limitless potential to transform and grow. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening and tuning in to another episode of Becoming More Me. I am excited to introduce you to Molly Cahill today. Now, Molly and I think neither of us can really remember exactly how we connected, but we connected a number of months back on Instagram, which is like a platform that she rocks and helps other people to rock as well. And we just hit it off. So I'm really excited to have another opportunity to talk to her because we're both very busy and we might just have to schedule podcasts to talk to each other and continue
to catch up. No, I think it's a great idea. I like this. I like this idea.
But Molly's a marketing coach. She's in Cincinnati, and I'm excited to have her share all sorts of great stuff with us today, including, how to kind of work on our relationship with social media for those of us who are, entrepreneurs, professional women trying to get ourselves out there on social media. And sometimes it's so freaking hard. And I was just on Molly's podcast recently, which is Holistic Marketing Simplified. And we talked a lot about this and even did some EFT tapping on it. So you'll have this awesome resource today that we're creating, as well as if you need more to help you with that, you can listen to Molly's podcast and kind of continue the full circle effect of this. So welcome, Molly. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. And I was telling Theresa before we hit record, I'm outside on my porch because it's like real life. It's like my aunt and uncle were just here. My mom and stepdad are still here. My husband's out of town for work. And my daughter, who is 6, is here with her friend. So I'm like, I had to hide on the porch. So if you hear bird noises and whatever, that's or airplanes or cars, and you see all my husband's tools behind me.
It is real life.
This is real life.
Absolutely. I have dogs that like to do things at odd times. So my kids are not here, so I can't blame them, but there's always something, or a service provider comes to the door, this is what happens when we work our businesses from home, right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about you when you're not helping people with, social media and marketing and all of these things. Like, who is Molly? What does she love to do? What can we find you doing on a day-to-day basis?
I am the quintessential people person. So anytime I take any personality test, or I just had an astrologer on my podcast, or human designer, whatever it is, I just genuinely love human interaction. I'm, like I said, I'm a huge extrovert. So you're almost always find me doing something, chatting with friends. I have a very large group of very close friends, which I know some people say isn't possible, but I disagree. And my husband, my daughter, and I, it's just the three of us by choice. And we are just a little close-knit we're just buddies. We have so much fun together. We're always last minute, like 8 o'clock at night, like, let's go grab ice cream, or let's go to Topgolf or whatever. And so we do a lot of fun stuff.
Spontaneous.
And I love outside of the business world, I have a passion for decorating and stuff. I've never talked about that, but I'm like the person that still is on Pinterest every day looking at decorating stuff.
Are there good ways to market on there still?
What now?
Are there good ways to market on there still?
Yeah, for health and web. My friend Jana O Media teaches that, but for health coaches and life coaches especially, it's a great place. I personally don't, but not that I don't think it would or wouldn't work. I don't know how many people still use it. I do know it helps with SEO. So there's that. But I'm also just like a health and wellness junkie. And you and I have really similar stories that I feel like a lot of women can resonate with, that you start at point A with your pendulum, which is like Western medicine, everything, and how you were raised, and this is what you have, a pill for this, you have the symptom, you take a pill, and then the symptom goes away, and then magically you're better. And then until it doesn't, and then that fails you, and then your pendulum swings way far to the other side, and you're like, if I could just find the right supplement, or like the one food that maybe I'm intolerant to, or if I could just find it's my adrenal glands, or it's my, you know what I mean? Like,
It would be so convenient if we could find all of the answers outside of ourselves, wouldn't it?
Right. So then we swing to that side and we're like, and then you realize that's not that different from conventional medicine. It's just using herbs and natural supplements and stuff versus, and I still use all that, right? Like, I still love all that stuff. I'm not saying anything bad, but I feel like now you and I, well, you're ahead of me, but I'm getting to where you are.
There's no ahead, there's no behind.
I knew you were going to say that as soon as I said it. I just mean, like, I would say you're a little further on your journey of like, oh, like, I found the center of like, it's not my adrenal glands. It's not and if it is, why? There's like, even that is not the root cause. You know what I'm saying? So I just wrote a post for a client that was like the stages of quote root cause healing. And it's like what you think root cause healing is versus what it actually is. And that's kind of where I am.
What were some of the misconceptions that you came up with there?
It's like, okay, it's like, all right, I keep using the adrenal glands because I did majorly suffer from burnout. This is not me gaslighting or saying that doesn't exist. Please do not misunderstand me. I still take a supplement for my adrenals, but it's like, there's almost always an underlying subconscious belief or pattern or track that is dictating. Your body is not dysfunctional. Your body, I think that is like one of the limiting beliefs is your body, something's inherently wrong and I need to fix it. Where really our body's extremely intelligent and wise. And we're just your brain is going, nope, fix this. Like, this is my way of fixing it. And if you could just kind of get down to that next layer, it's like, that's when the real magic happens. And I feel like that's why I was so drawn to you and your work, because that's in essence what you do.
The love, the acceptance, the forgiveness, the up-leveling, the removal of those subconscious blocks does wonders. It really does.
Doesn't it? And so I still work with a lot of the more traditional, traditional is not the right word, but like naturopathic doctors and functional medicine and health coaches. But I'm really calling in and leaning into more of like the spiritpreneur, like the people who are doing more of the type of work that you're doing.
The people like me.
Yes.
we need each other. We're like a perfect match. So Instagram's like your jam then.
Yeah. So we've been doing this for about 4 years ago. My daughter, who's 6.5, I was in medical sales I was in outside sales for 9 years, medical sales for 6, huge team, traveled all the time, legitimately drove 1,000 miles a week, like 1,000 miles per week in my little Lexus.
See my face. It was like that exploding head emoji pretty much that just happened here.
Made great money. Medical sales is very much what they make it out to be in the movies. Made great money, but I was exhausted. And when I'd always socked away cash because I was like, I can't do this forever. So when I got pregnant with my daughter, my husband, who was military, which we kind of had that piece in common too, we found out he was going to be deployed when she was born. So he left when I was 37 weeks pregnant for 6 months. It's like the worst possible time.
Yeah.
And so back up to, I was about 14 weeks pregnant and I was super sick and I was like driving and I was like, you know what? Screw this. I quit. Like literally, I was just like, I quit. I'm done. And I quit. I had no plan. I did have, like I said, cash saved up and I was lucky enough that my husband was military, right? And he had insurance and we had his, he wasn't going to get fired because he was under contract, right? So when my daughter was about a year old, I was like, I can't be a stay-at-home mom. This is the hardest job I've ever had in my life. God bless you, all the women who do it. I don't like, this is the hardest job ever. My chiropractor and I became friends and she said, hey, do you want to help me with my Instagram? And as the proverbial, the rest is history. So now I've been doing it about 4 years. We actively run 27 Instagram accounts. And I also have a program called Holistic Marketing Hub where I teach it. And through that, I have identified some ways that we definitely self-sabotage when it comes to social media.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's what I think what we wanted to talk about some today.
Yeah. Fill us in. I mean, I know the
Yeah.
things I typically see, at least with like my clients, because I work with a lot of professional women who are, kind of up leveling in their business. And I'm not necessarily doing marketing stuff for them like you are, but a lot of time I'm trying to help them through those blocks. And I see a lot of like that fear come up right before they have to press post, or just avoiding the task altogether of like creating content or what have you, putting it off, or just, I think sometimes as women, like we don't honor like our cyclical nature.
Mm,
We think that we're supposed to be able to produce it every day.
yeah.
And I mean, it's probably not the best marketing strategy for me, but there are some days where I literally just say fuck it. And like it's
Oh, I
just
do that too.
and it's intentional. Like I'm like, this is not helping me today. This is actually holding me back today. And I can pour into something else, my clients or my book or whatever else I'm working on. And then I'll like massively produce stuff on the days when it feels more cyclically aligned. And if I'm smart, I'll schedule.
Yeah. And I have the same story, right? Like, but it works, right? We're both making sales. It's like, who's to say it's right or wrong? I-
Yeah, I was
yeah.
never able to get into like the emailing every day, the posting several times a day, or
Or
any of
no,
that without
heck
it
no.
being like really content.
Just like a struggle upstream,
Mhm.
not downstream, as my coach would say.
Yes.
And honestly, I wish everybody, I do have a lot of clients and students who come to me who I'm like, I wasn't the right fit. Like you need to go back a few steps before you come to me, because I feel like there's a lot of people who have a lot of that mindset work to do before they even get to the actual tactics and strategy.
Yeah.
Not that I just teach, tech tutorials and tactics and strategy. I mean, I definitely teach more of the mindset pieces, which is what we're going to talk about today, but I do feel like there's underlying work that needs to be done. I don't care if you're an entrepreneur or not, that will make you better at whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
So, just from a practical, I'll just start it off with a really practical standpoint is we've been fortunate enough to work with some pretty big influencers, and it's like the Wizard of Oz. We actually just watched the Wizard of Oz with my 6-year-old for the first time.
Aw.
It's like once you go behind the curtain and you see what Oz really is, and you're like, oh, they're not the great and powerful Wizard of Oz. They're just
Yeah. What did your daughter think of The Wizard of Oz before you go any further? Because I'm curious. I've been thinking about having mine watch it too. And I'm like, I don't know if it's going to hold the attention.
she liked it. She was very confused why it was, quote, all gray in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she did. She liked it.
Okay.
But well, we also had just seen the ruby slippers at the Smithsonian too when we went to DC. So I
Ah,
think that was kind of like a little connection point for her.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And
So anyway.
our dog kind of looks like Toto. So there's that.
Oh, there's a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
connection then.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
But yeah, so like I said, we've seen behind the curtain, right? Like we've firsthand seen things that you're like, wow, this isn't at all the persona this person
Right.
puts out online. Or not saying that they're fake people. That's not what I mean. I mean like the layers, like the stuff that isn't shown.
Right.
So I think because I have worked behind the scenes with so many people who on the surface, you would look at their website or their Instagram or whatever and go like, man, I want to be like her. She's got it together. And then you actually get to be the person working behind the scenes. You're like, oh, like they have the same issues you and I have,
Oh, yeah.
I just happen to show mine. Like I happen to show that the shop back is behind me,
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Um, so, and what's cool is not that you needed a reason to be authentic, but in 2023 and beyond, that has become the quote trend is authenticity, which is, just shows you people are sick of the perfectly filtered BS. So I think that's why I don't really have that comparison problem. Like I don't get on Instagram and just go, oh my gosh, I want to be like this person because I know too much. I've seen how the sausage is made.
Yes, exactly.
And you've probably had a similar experience working with like some, quote, bigger names and like then you're helping them work on their internal struggles.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So how do we make social media easier?
Yeah. First tip, super easy. I want you to relentlessly and unapologetically go either unfollow or mute anyone in your industry who does what you do, and or anyone who makes you have that twinge of feeling like you aren't doing enough.
Mm.
This is going to make me sound like a monster on the surface because you're like, Molly, women supporting women. Like, come on. I'm like, I don't think anyone would ever argue that I did not support. I am the world's biggest cheerleader. I will support you all day, every day. But one of my favorite humans who I know in real life who does social media, I had to mute her because she was posting reels every day and I'm not. And it made me feel like I wasn't doing enough. So even though I love her content, I love her as a human, I muted her. So I'm not inundated with her reels every day because all it does is make me feel crappy.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that does, just again, from a more practical standpoint, is it stifles your creativity when your feed is filled with other people who do exactly what you do. So if you log on to Instagram and all you see is other EFT practitioners, whether they're at your level of, the master practitioner or not, or even just anybody who's doing more subconscious work, whatever.
Yeah.
You start to see the same ideas recirculated over and over.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing I found that was happening to me was I was going, oh crap, I was about to teach on that. I was about to post about
I
that
was just going to say
subject.
that. I'll have that thing where I see something and I'm like, I was going to share something just like that, and maybe I need to change it or
Yeah,
whatever.
I want them to think
And
I'm
nobody really
copying
cares.
them.
Like, nobody's seeing the same
No.
combination of accounts that I'm seeing ever. It's just not a possibility. And the likelihood that they would see the same thing or question
Mhm.
if I
Right, because
truly
our
agree.
ideal clients aren't following, if you think about, like, I work with a lot of chiropractors, right? Like, my feed is full of chiropractors because that's who
Mhm.
I work with. But your ideal client who lives in the city you live in is not following a whole bunch of other chiropractors, like they might follow you. So anything that ever makes you hesitant about pressing post, that's the person you need to make sure you're muting and not, because I would be like, ooh, are they going to think I'm copying them? I'm not. Like, do you even have an original thought in your head, Molly? Like, what is, when who knows? I was going to explain it maybe a little bit differently. And maybe the way
Sure.
they heard it from you is different from the other person. So again, this is not about not supporting your colleagues. This is just
Yeah.
about like
The same
self-preservation.
thing said in your voice or my voice comes across
Mhm.
completely different. And, we resonate with the things that sound like our own voice.
Yes.
So that's what we magnetize, that's what we attract. And, we could both be talking about Instagram marketing, and the way I say it will resonate with people differently than the way that you say it. And
Yeah.
that's just what it comes down to. It's all frequencies and all that kind of stuff right in there with the information.
Yes. Yes. So that's definitely number one tip. And then I like to follow accounts that aren't, I've had people ask me, is this strategic? Who do I strategically follow? I'm like, no. It needs to be a place of fun or joy, or you're not going to do it. So the other day I opened up my explore feed and it was all social media tips. And I was like, this isn't good for me. I know, I recognize my patterns, and the algorithm needs to learn that I like other things.
Yeah.
So I was like, my daughter's become a Swiftie recently. She loves Taylor Swift. So we've been like watching Taylor Swift videos on my reels together, or we've been, I have like an eclectic design style. So I've been like looking up eclectic design, or we've been wanting to garden. I've been looking up gardening or recipes. I'm like, anything I
Mhm.
can put on my explore feed that is not just other social media things.
Right.
And it learns quickly, and then it starts to
Yes.
populate those things instead.
Is there any good way to get it to forget the kid stuff?
You know, it there's a way you can go. I couldn't tell you how to do it. You could probably Google it. There's a way you can literally go into like Meta's thing and like it'll show you what it thinks you're interested in.
Ah, interesting. I
Yeah,
might find that because I feel like my kids have used my YouTube, and my Instagram, my accounts
I
too
know.
much, and then it's like, or even like my Apple Music will be suggesting like songs out of their video games and
I
stuff.
know.
And I'm like, what?
My husband listens to like Lord of the Rings background music when he's working, and then I'm like, "No, I don't want to listen to this."
Now I feel like I
Oh,
know you better.
Yeah. Or like the Shire music. I'm like, no, no, no. Um, yeah, so that's like I said, that's another thing. And another thing that does is it helps you be more creative.
Mhm.
I follow this furniture flipper who she's so cool. Like I never have the patience to do something like that, but she goes to garage sales and thrift stores and finds furniture and refinishes it. And I've learned a lot from her videos, just how she uses her video content. And it's helped me be a better marketer to follow a furniture flipping account, not because it
Yeah.
has anything to do with what I'm doing.
Yeah. And then you don't worry about it as much if you are creating something similar as far as the way you're creating it,
Exactly.
because it's not the same. And even though it's not the
Exactly.
same, even if it was another marketing coach, it feels it feels more not the same. It feels more okay.
Yes. So another tip on that same line, to what I learned from the furniture account, and not just her, but from other accounts. Do you follow Susie Moore?
Yes.
Let It Be Easy.
Hmm.
Um, so her whole ethos is let it be easy. Everything's let it be easy. It doesn't have to be hard. All her podcast episodes are really short. Go ahead.
I'm
Go ahead.
laughing because I'm literally writing the chapter of my book all about I think it's going to be easy and let it be easy being like mantras of mine that I use all the time, like literally like right before I got on here with you. So this is just kind
Oh
of
my gosh. Yeah.
interesting and
Serendipitous.
synchronistic.
Serendipitous for sure. But so her podcast episodes are really short. And a couple months ago, I stumbled upon one, and the title was When More is More. And it caught my attention because we talk about that pendulum, right? So I went from like hustle burnout to like, I'm just going to do what I want today. And I'm going to rest and now I'm kind of in that point where I'm like, I don't want to rest anymore. I want to do something, but I want it to be something I want to do, right? So when I saw the more is more, I was like, ooh, more is more. Susie, hot take. Cause normally it's like less is more. And it was such a great episode. I'm so glad I listened to it because she talked about how when you create more content, you're hedging your bets. So it's like you could spend an hour editing and perfecting one reel to make sure it's just right. Or you could spend an hour making 4 reels that are maybe okay. And it's like maybe one takes off, 2 don't, one does mediocre. It's still going to be more views combined than that one you spent an hour like pouring all of your heart and soul into that may or may
Yeah.
not do anything. And I was like, wow, that's a great perspective and very like permission giving almost. Like I used to think it would scare my people and not resonate with my people because it didn't resonate with me when it's like, no, you need to create more. It's like, well, I don't have time to create what I'm creating now. What do you mean do more? And it's looking at doing more through the lens of B minus work. You know what I mean? Or like,
Right.
C plus
Yeah.
work.
Done is
Because
better than perfect.
yes, because you're still going to reach more people doing it that way. And it's again from watching this particular furniture flipper account. Let's say she's working on one dresser. Let's say she has one really long video of this dresser. One happens to be that she put a tripod up and was filming it on like time lapse. And one happened to be where she stopped and, filmed the little details of like, I'm
Okay.
doing the hardware and I'm stripping it or whatever. She'll use that same like different clips of the same video of the same piece of furniture like 10 times. So if she's got 10 reels, she's not filming 10 different videos. She's not sitting down going, okay, here's reel number 1, record it, finish, edit it. She's literally just doing a variation of the same exact reel, but in 10 different ways. And so when I started studying accounts like hers and some other, I follow this, I'm not a minimalist. I'm trying to be, but I'm kind of like, I'm kind of like in the middle, but
Yeah, me too.
I follow this
I'd love
minimalist.
to be a minimalist, but I'm just not sure how that works,
Yeah, I'm like, nah. I like
especially with kids.
I have things that are, you want to have. But she literally every day, every reel, she blew up from using reels daily, but none of her reels are highly produced. None of them, it'll be like the same exact video clip of her bedroom or her kitchen or whatever, with just like either a slightly different song or a slightly different, maybe one has a quote, maybe one is the same video, but instead of a quote, it's a tip. Um, and it's like, wow, what an easy way to create
Yeah.
more content, but it's like lower effort, lower lift
Hmm.
content. So I think that's another really helpful tip to make it feel less toxic and less overwhelming is like,
Yeah.
this isn't about more, more, more in terms of constant production of something new and novel. This is
Right.
about just having more touch points with the same exact thing, maybe in a slightly different way. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
it makes total sense. It's kind of a pivot that I've made over the last few years based on podcasting
Ah,
because I got to the point where I felt like I was doing all this stuff that like related to my work, but I wasn't sharing that. So I was feeling like I had to create different content in order to speak to that, but I was already doing the thing. So when I started doing podcast guesting so often and even my own podcast like this, like I'll create a bunch of content from this and the places where I guest and I'll use that. And I don't do any of it. My assistants do. So literally it became
mhm.
the easiest way for me to create content because all I needed to do was show up and have a lovely conversation with someone like you and then hand it off and content would just magically appear. And I feel like that's getting easier and easier too with all the AI stuff that exists now that'll batch it out and do it for you too.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, whatever I can take and do with one piece of content. I mean, a half hour, 45-minute podcast interview has a lot of options for things that are worth sharing. And it means that I don't need to create content outside of the time that I'm working as
Yeah.
a podcast or podcast guest, or even like
Yeah.
when clients are allowing me to like share parts of our sessions or things like that that are really valuable.
Well, you just doing the private sessions thing is so smart to me because that is super valuable, but like you're not like you're yeah, it's almost like you're getting to help somebody, but then you're also getting to use it as marketing. It's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. And that's, I mean, I kind of created that with the whole idea that like it helps everybody.
Yeah.
It helps every podcast that's a part of it gets either seen through a different podcast or other leads people to other things that are like-minded through it. And yeah, it's insane. I was looking through that the other day and realizing, gosh, we have over like 50 different tapping sessions in there. And like it's an insane value for
Yeah.
a free resource at this point.
Yeah. It is. I'm like, yeah,
And
she
it's
needs
fun
to
to
rush me.
create.
Yeah. Right. And it's so helpful, right? You get to see the impact it makes. And I will say, you talked about your assistant, and I have somebody that helps me too, but you can even look on Upwork for search Reels editor on Upwork. And I found somebody who was like $15 a video. I would send them my entire podcast recording and they would make like a few little snippets of it and then you're done.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to. And then I have a girl who helps me with graphics and I'll sometimes send her my reels and say, "Hey, can you make this reel into a carousel post?"
Hmm.
And she'll pull out some of the key points from the reel and make it a carousel post. So, most recent research I saw in Forbes says people need to see something 21 times now in order to take some type of action. Whereas before it used to be 7. They used to call it like the marketing
Yeah.
rule of 7. And so it's like, yeah, people need, oh, well, I've literally had clients be like, "I posted that before." I'll be like, "When?" "Last year." I'm like,
Nobody
"Okay."
remembers.
Yeah. Yeah. So to me, that helps with the whole like toxic relationship with social media is feeling like, okay, I have nothing creative in my bones today. It's like, cool, just go literally screenshot a post you did a few months ago and copy and paste it and reuse it.
Yeah,
Because
I have done that, and that's something that I'll often like tell my assistants. I'll be like, go like scan through what worked last year. Let's
yeah,
like reuse those captions or reuse that footage or whatever if we're like in a lull or between things or whatever, which rarely happens, but it's still like, I mean, I totally could be posting like 5 times a day or whatever if I was actually using all the stuff that I've created over the years, but that just feels like overwhelming and like who
yeah,
wants to hear
yeah.
me talk that
So
much?
yeah, so repurposing and getting smarter with it is definitely another tip. And then um I'd say the last tip would be to not always feel like well, I would say there's kind of 2 tips related into one is I'll do like a shoot now, post later type thing. So I'm big on my stories and Instagram stories are one of my favorite ways to connect with people. And it's how I feel
Me
like I've
too.
made like the majority of myself. Yeah. Yeah. Cause that's where you get to really show the like uncurated behind the
Yeah.
scenes,
It
low
feels less
lift.
important to be perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You don't care because it's going to disappear anyway. And if we go on vacation or whatever, I'm not posting on my stories throughout the day. I might take little clips throughout the day because not because I really care whether or not I show them to other people, but because I want them. And then I might like when I'm about to, get ready, like just sitting on the couch at night, I might just post them all at once on
Yeah.
my stories or something. So I think a lot of people feel
In my
like,
case, I might post them 3 months later.
oh, same. Oh, I'd be like,
Like,
oh,
I
this is
went to an
what
awesome concert last week. I still haven't shared any of it. I'm like, I should really share some of that. Like, it'd be
yeah,
fun, but I haven't done it yet. And then like I used to
yeah.
get like all this guilt kind of thing where it's like, oh, even like I've had 2 photo shoots with a professional photographer already this year, and like I've shared so little. And I'm like, I should really put that stuff out there, but it'll get there. It'll get there.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's funny. I always find I get more DMs when I do that too. Cause people be like, are you blah, blah, blah? I'm like, oh no, this was from like 3 weeks ago.
Yep, exactly.
But then yeah, the last thing is like I pretty much always my personality type doesn't work well with hard and fast rules. Like I'm somebody who needs the fluid flexibility, but for the most part, I don't open social media on the weekends
Yeah.
or really even use my phone on the weekends much. To my husband, he's like, I can never get in touch with you. Like if he's at the grocery store trying to call me, like, do we need eggs? I'm like, don't answer my phone. I don't mean to. It's always on
Yeah.
silent or dead.
Mine's
Or
always on do not disturb. My
yeah,
husband
I
has the
never
same
know where it
problem.
is.
He's at the store and he has a question or whatever, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, it took me like 25 minutes
Sorry.
to see it or whatever, and now he's gone. But
Yeah. Same story. Um, but yeah, so just having that break is so critical. And I think some people think if they step away that like, or even if you take a really extended break, you don't have to announce it. You don't have to tell anybody when you're back. Probably nobody noticed.
yeah.
And the best ideas come when you're like, I painted yesterday, like a painting on a canvas.
How
And I was
cool. What'd
like,
you paint?
I just a little landscape with my daughter and it was so fun. And I was like, I had stuff like deadlines, but she wanted to paint and I was like, you know what? Put my phone down. I'm going to paint because now I see it for what it is. I see it as like, this is actually good for my business when I take a
Mhm.
break because it gives me that brain space to
Yep.
think. And
Slow is the new fast.
yeah,
That's all I keep
yeah,
discovering more and more of in every area of life. The more
yeah.
I just slow down instead of rushing, it's like I get more done than when I'm in that like high functioning anxiety, chaotic, productive energy.
Haste makes waste. Nothing is more evident than when you're in a rush trying to put your
I think
mascara
my
on.
grandmother just came on the podcast for a quick second or
Hey,
something.
hey, no, you know when you're trying to put your mascara on really quickly and you're like, ah, and then it like gets everywhere and you're like, okay, if I had
Yes.
just done it slowly.
Uh-huh. Absolutely. Right. It's always like when you're rushing that you like, spill your drink or, drop your keys or spill your briefcase or whatever. It's like it's never when you're just going slow.
See, you just said briefcase, so we're even.
I didn't even mean it. I meant like my laptop bag.
You would mean it. But yeah. So
Possessed by
anyway,
the old words and
yeah,
spirit.
right. But those are my tips in a nutshell. So,
Those are
and
great.
they really do work. They help a lot
Those
and
are
they're
great.
easy to implement.
So, where do people find like what can they be doing on that hub that you were talking about, the Instagram marketing hub?
Yeah. So if you're a health and wellness professional, it's created for you. It's gosh, I've had it for a little over 3 years now, the program, and it's been iterated and um I'm about to re-record all the curriculum and do a live cohort, which is exciting.
Yeah.
But it's where you can learn everything you could possibly need to know about Instagram marketing, everything from some of the mindset work to more like marketing strategies to actual like here is what button to push. Like the tech tutorial piece. And then it's got a huge right now it's over 100 over 450 Instagram and Facebook captions that they can just copy paste. Which is pretty unique because it's not like there are other social media caption libraries, but this one's like, I don't know many that are as technical as mine. Like, here's what thyroid labs you need to have ordered if you're tired all the time. Lots of chiropractic posts, health coach, functional medicine, women's health. There's even some like Reiki and acupuncture and energy healing and you name it, it's there. So like I said, and we take requests. If you're not in the health, excuse me, if you're not in the health and wellness space or none of those really fit you, I
Mhm.
do sell the course just by itself. It's kind of like an off menu thing. I don't have it on my website, so you can just message me if you just want to learn the Instagram part.
Yeah, that's awesome. Very cool. And what
Yeah.
are some other ways that people can work with you?
So if you want to just get started, I mean, because that's it's 6 payments of 167. So, but if you're just wanting to get started and just dip your toes in, then I have a $27 Instagram marketing roadmap, but I'm going to give your people a code to get it for free.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's just Theresa is just the coupon code, and it'll get you like $27 off. So it'll make it free.
Awesome. For anybody that doesn't know, my name has an H in it. So
yeah.
Theresa.
Well, I started to make it becoming more me. And then I was like, that's long. And then I was like, BMM. And then I was like, no, like bowel movement. Like
we abbreviate it that way all the time with my assistants. And I still think that sometimes when I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is not the best abbreviation.
No, well, it's fine. Hey, my people probably resonate with that. But anyway, I just made it Theresa. You get $27 off. And it's just mollycahill.com/private training. Hi, beautiful doggy. Oh my gosh, what a beauty.
Yeah, this is Mowgli.
Oh my gosh, she's so pretty.
He's a boy, but yep.
He needs some love.
He's my puppy. Anyway,
yeah,
so Teresa's the code.
Teresa's the code. It's just a 5-episode, they're pretty short episode, private podcast. So like you can't search in podcasts and find it. It's a private audio feed. And I even had clients who'd worked with me for years who listened to it and were like, oh my gosh, it was a great tip about blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you've known this. Like, again, it's that whole, like, I've said this a million times, but hey. You know.
Sometimes we forget that the advice that we're used to saying all the time, other people have just never heard, or
that's really
we devalue what we have to offer.
Exactly. But it's a good place to start because it's kind of like the A to Z roadmap.
Which is honestly another social media marketing tip, because a lot of times you think the things that you're going to share aren't worthy enough of being shared. And oftentimes they're exactly what your audience needs to hear.
I'm not kidding. This was a woman who A, was in my course, and then B, we've been running her Instagram for 3 years. And she was like, oh my gosh, that was a great tip about your hashtags. I was like, haven't you heard me say that 1,000 times? I guess not.
Nope. Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on and spending some of your busy day. I know you've got relatives visiting and, your hubby's away and all this kind of stuff going on. And you still took the time to come on and share and teach us things that we all want to know. So
I appreciate you giving me the platform and sharing your audience with me and sharing Mowgli's cute face with me. This boy, he is like...
He's a lover.
He is. What a sweetheart.
I will make sure that your website and the information is all in the show notes too. And thank you all for tuning in and listening to Becoming More Me today. Have a fabulous day.
Bye.
Thanks for spending some of your precious time with me today. If you loved this episode, please leave a review or simply share it with someone else who would get great benefit from it too. If you share on social media, please tag me so I can personally connect and thank you. Until next time, keep taking bold and brave steps towards becoming more of who you want to be in this world. You are capable, you are worthy, and you are enough. And if your inner critic is still trying to argue with those facts, hit me up. We've got work to do.